altitude, vehicle altitude at the moment is about 3 and well, maybe about 3 meters. But we can still see beautiful imagery of the sea floor.
Yeah, HYPAC's calling relatively flat here, but it doesn't have the resolution to see the small little dents like this.
Okay. The texture of this little mound right in front of us is fascinating. There goes our drill bell.
We're going to mute this for a minute.
So you've got something that's stocked up in the upper right corner. I wonder if we could take a look at it. It looks different than anything we've seen.
Pilot, stalked thing in the upper right corner. Do you see that?
In the middle now.
Oh, I see what it is. Yeah, it's just beyond that clump of rough stuff. You're headed right at it. Thank you.
Okay. Dan?
Yes, sir.
You'll have the tilt.
It's a drill.
All right. Taking the camera.
I'm just going to come in and try to lodge a toe here.
Oh, there's some more of that purple coral, but I think this one's a different species from the one we saw earlier. I remember seeing two varieties of purple coral on leg 1.
Yep. Okay, I think I'm settled here. So
and one of them has purple polyps, but white stems. Is that the right term? Or, you know, the hard part?
Branches.
Branches.
Skeleton.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Oh, wow.
Tilting up.
Now, that is something I haven't seen
Oh, wow.
before.
Look at that.
If that's not called a candelabra, it should be.
Wow. What is that?
So this is
coral.
A Gorgonian coral in the family Primnoideae, but I think it could be an Arella, but it looks so completely different than anything else that I know from that family. And I'm hoping Scott and maybe Asako and Amy might have an idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah, it looks like Scott already put in there Primnoid. And Asako put in Narella? Question mark.
I'll tilt up a bit. You got any more? Well, I'll let you guys work it out, but if you want video to zoom in, I can.
Yeah,
adjust.
please.
Oh, yeah, video, you may zoom in.
This is full zoom.
So the kind of fuzzy look to the stalk is that there are polyps on.
Yeah, there are polyps on the stalk as well. Yeah.
Now, I have never seen
Yeah.
on leg 1 anything that was stalked that had polyps
along the stalk.
Now, Chris would know better or not whether I actually did see anything, because I'm not sure I would remember it. But, boy, this is really a beautiful critter.
Well, video's clear. I'm not sure if science is still.
Okay.
Go full wide.
Yeah, pretty unusual. I wonder if we're going to see some more of those as we go along. But yeah, it was very interesting, very different than what we've seen so far today.
I was interested in the purple coral.
Are you thinking that perhaps if we see another one, it might be a good candidate for a number 2 biological sample?
Thanks, Dave.
How much left?
Well, I would probably vote for something like that. That one's a bear to try to collect just because you have a right-handed manipulator and you have a big ledge sticking up on the right side.
You certainly do.
I think let's wait and see if we see something that's easier to grab.
Yeah, it's 20-meter booms.
Yeah,
are
I
working
don't.
out well.
I'm virtually certain that the pilot would not want to try to position himself with the current at his back, you know, to try to get that sample. Got to have all those considerations too.
Yeah, plus, and where do you sit down a little bit to try to get stable? Either it's so rugose right there.
Yeah,
very rough surface.
A little bit more.
Yeah, Chris, you're a fellow
Yeah,
Hawaiian.
we gotta
Aloha,
follow
by the way.
Yep.
The holes in those mounds that we were looking at just now
difficult enough with the
sure
current
remind
shifts.
me of beach rock. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it could be karstic. I guess that's what you're alluding to, Patty. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right. That there could have been some dissolution. You know, when in the last glacial maximum, when sea level was down,
Yeah, so
well, it's only down 200 meters. or a little bit more. So that would put this part of the seafloor at 300 meters depth. And I don't know if you could get enough coral growth during that period
So
to
I
produce
think I'm
a
looking more or less up
kind
the
of
ridge here. I
limestone
would actually
base.
come up and push forward more into the center of my view.
So for those of you who might be just joining us, although it's probably more likely in the central time zone and eastern time zone that you're just getting ready to go to bed, but if you're just joining us, we are on the NOAA exploration vessel, the Okeanos Explorer, and we are conducting a dive
You guys look like you're
in the
ready for
Mariana
another
Trench in a
We're
place
trying to figure out
called
a good
Farallon
bearing right now.
de Medina, or FDM for short.
Farallon de Medina.
Medea.
And we're not
4, 5 or
actually
so.
in the
On it.
trench.
No, we're not
in
in the
the
trench.
island arc at the
Right, and
moment.
so we're in a relatively shallow dive, according to
measure
our
high pack?
definition of shallow and
Yeah,
deep, because our
yeah.
ROV, the Deep Discoverer,
Sure, yeah.
can go down to 6,000 meters, and we're just at 500 meters right now on our
Let's do
dive.
3, 4, 5.
Yep.
Is that fine with you,
I'm
Joe?
Shirley
Yes, sir.
Pomponi. I'm
Right.
from Harbor Branch Oceanographic
Straight up your
Institute
view.
at Florida Atlantic University. I'm
call
one
it
of the
just
Gonna
two
saddle
science
along the
leads,
port, on the
and
left
And
side.
I'm
That
the
Pat.
works
birthday
best.
girl.
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah, it's my
Bridge
birthday, so if you see
already
this weird hat
Block a
on
bit
one
of
of
the
us, that's me. I'm wearing this birthday cake
We are
hat,
ready for
which
another
they made me
shipment.
wear
Wouldn't go
today.
too much further,
Okay,
though.
so
0 meters,
I'm
bearing
Patty
3,
Fryer,
4,
and
5
I'm
degrees,
a
0.2
professor
knots.
at the University of Hawaii, Manoa, on the island of
Good
Oahu
copy.
in Hawaii, and I am a marine geologist. I study, well, my basic training was in rocks, so I love rocks. But I have been working on the tectonic, that is the geologic,
Okay.
dynamic character of the region around the Mariana Trench for the last several decades, and looking at both the volcanic arc, which is one of the seamounts that actually the tip of it is above sea level, so it's an island, but we're looking at a scarp that is kind of a ridge on the southern flank underwater of this seamount. And the objective of the dive is to document precious corals and any fish that we might see that are related to commercial enterprises in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And if you want to say hello to somebody there, you go half a day.
Half a day. Half a day.
Half a day.
Half a day, as opposed to a full day.
That's correct.
Yeah,
So
you
most
get
of the dive
limited
will
delay.
be on this ridge feature, and that's
the inertia of the
because
vehicle.
that is actually where you would expect to find animals that live by filter feeding
it's
small
harder.
organisms
The more
out of the
like
water
current you have, the
column.
harder it
Right
gets to
now we
correct.
have a very strong current
Your overcompensation.
that is coming from the east. Our vehicle is facing about 70 degrees, 67 degrees or so relative to north, and kind of
Yes,
facing
it is.
into that
Wow.
current
Did it
as we
very
move
quickly,
upslope,
and now
so
you
that
can
we
see
can
it's
maintain
screaming by,
position
coming out
readily.
the east
And we
side.
appreciate the participation of everybody, those of you who are listening in from your home, as well as those of you who are at an Exploration Command Center, and a special hello to the Exploration Command Center at
Well, it
Underwater
went, like,
World.
really
They have
calm, like,
a
it's right
beautiful
up to the
Exploration
hands
Command
off.
Center
Really
at the
calm.
aquarium there.
And that's on Guam.
It's on Guam, so
So-
half a day.
Thank you.
Yeah, if
And-
any of you folks have kids that you'd like to take over there to the underwater world, you can sit in a very comfy chair and watch a very large screen that is showing you the
Trying to
video
line up with the ridge and
live, like
see
maybe
the
2
seats
seconds
going
of
to either
delay,
side.
but essentially live as we move along this underwater world.
We sure do. We're heading 345, which is putting me right up the ridge.
About halfway through the move,
All right.
10 meters left.
Why don't we just extend that move?
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
There are
let's
several
extend
views
it
that
to
you
the
can
mid-way.
access.
You want to tack on?
If you are on
Tack
the
on another 20.
Okay.
streaming video, if you look down the bottom, you've got several cameras, and one of them,
Bridge, ROV
if you
nav.
play around with them, just click on them and see what the image is.
Can
One
we
of
go
them
ahead
right
and
now
add an additional
is looking
20
at the
meters to
remotely
that last
operated
move?
vehicle. From the vehicle that's just above it,
Thank you, Bridge.
there's a tether from the remotely operated
Yeah, so Levi,
vehicle
when we,
to
extend a move, we
basically what is a
typically just
clump
repeat the bearing
weight to
and
kind of
speed, so there's
control
absolutely no
the
confusion.
umbilical,
Copy
the
that.
electrical conduit cord from the ship down to the remotely operated vehicle, and that's how the pilots, give the vehicle commands to move the manipulator arm and pick up samples, or to start moving one direction or another,
direction and phase
control
now.
the prop motion. And that view from Sirius is looking down on the ridge crest of the ridge that we are moving along. You'll notice that the vehicle is oriented kind of at an angle to the ridge as we move forward, and that is to try to make progress through these real strong currents that we have right here, and enable us to see a good picture of the seafloor.
Make a partial zoom on it, enough to identify it.
And we are zooming in to look at a
Sea
starfish.
star, yeah.
Great, hold that.
So what happens is our pilot will position the vehicle, which is difficult to do in this heavy current today, but he will position the vehicle over something that, somebody on shore who's a participating scientist on shore will ask, oh, I see a sea star on the seafloor. And the pilot will orient the vehicle so the camera kind of points at that, and then our wonderful videographer Tara today, wave to the camera, Tara, is going to operate the zoom on the camera so that we can see these animals in high definition close up. See these animals in high definition close up.
Great, I guess we've seen these before.
This may be this particular type of sea star might be a goniaster, a goniasterid, kind of a cushion star, a little bit of a cushion star.
Of course.
And a shrimp, common name of which is Plesionica. Well, that's a cool name, Plesionica. So these sponges that are in this area are more kind of like platy, cup-shaped ones as well. And again, they may be related to that fan sponge, but would be different species, maybe even different genera. It's kind of lumpy topography now.
Right. So we are actually traversing upslope, up the summit of this ridge. The ROV can't really operate going downslope, partly because tether management
Becomes an issue.
Yeah,
serious.
Between if you're serious.
You're serious.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you're a serious
serious.
scientist or pilot, yes, you would not want to tangle up your tether. So the tether is the connection to the ship, the electrical connection that helps the pilots or enables the pilots to operate the ROV.
Yeah, we always want the Deep Discoverer to come back to the ship at night.
And also, if you imagine, as if the vehicle is facing forward going down, it's sort of like
You can't
going down a set of stairs. Even if you tilt your camera down at 45 degrees, you're not going to
really see
ground.
anything, yeah.
So that's why we always face towards the hill and typically travel uphill.
Yeah, you can imagine trying to back your car down a steep driveway, crossing a sidewalk, and you don't have a rear view mirror. So, you really don't want to do that.
Navigator, could you please give us our distance to waypoint 3?
Yes, we're currently 150 meters from waypoint 3. We have just under an hour. I think
Okay, roger that.
4:15 we got to head up. So, yep.
150 meters from our final waypoint, and we have just under an hour, just a little bit under an hour for the rest of our dive. Those black rocks in the distance.
What's interesting about the black rock on the right-hand side is got a white patch on it.
Which we know now is a sponge.
Aha! This is a manganese-encrusted sponge. No, people, I'm just kidding. Probably that's a piece of sponge sitting on the top of a manganese-encrusted rock, yes.
Along
Looks like
with a
ship is in
bubble gum.
position.
Bubblegum coral with commensal brittle stars.
No doubt.
Whoa, wow. And this is coming from a
Yeah,
geologist.
just settling
I'm
out.
learning. Well, that's the one
You're
thing.
a quick
you know.
study. You're a
No,
quick study, Patty.
Well, no,
Seems like
I,
the
you know,
currents,
full disclosure here, I did
just
sit in
like
entirely
Yeah.
on leg one, so I had to kind of learn because I haven't sailed out on
Quite
this,
as crazy as it was.
these kinds of expeditions.
Well, that's
before.
kind of the neat thing about these types of
Yeah.
expeditions. It allows
What,
scientists from
with
many
what
different
Drew's
disciplines to
collecting?
work together.
50
And to
meters,
expand our
3315.
breadth.
Absolutely.
And I can say big Latin words now that my geology colleagues aren't going to know what I'm talking about.
I think that's measuring from the center of the ship.
Boy, this ribbon sponge thing sure is the
Everywhere.
dominant
Yeah,
critter.
sure is.
Wow. You know, I haven't
make-
seen anything like this on dive one where there
it
is
makes
one species that
no, you
really
don't do that.
dominates.
Yeah. And I don't know if,
Here's the
Chris,
mineral.
if you know, but
Yeah,
how
looking
these sponges reproduce, because
Sirius
sometimes
is
the larvae
103 meters
only are
away,
like,
bearing
just
3,
crawl
4,
along the
1
bottom,
south.
or they're not in the water
Okay,
column
that
very
matches
long.
better.
So it just could
Yeah,
be that,
that matches
you know,
better.
in terms of
Okay.
sexual reproduction, these things have just stayed pretty locally, and just the larvae have just moved very short distances across the bottom before
they-
they settle and metamorphose. Yeah.
Do they spawn by releasing gametes
yeah,
into
I
the
don't.
water column?
Yeah, they'll. I'm not sure if these release
Yeah,
both
3, 4,
eggs
2,
and
3, 4,
sperm. They would
3 is
release
around
sperm,
Okay.
and because some sponges have
Let's,
eggs that stay
keep it
inside
moving.
the body.
Yeah, you're
Really?
Others
recording.
release the
Let's turn
eggs,
it
and there's
340 right
external
now, but-
fertilization. But for some, there's internal fertilization. I
working.
honestly don't know for
Whatever you
this
guys
Yeah, so
group
keep it
of
moving.
sponges whether
20
they
meters
are
coming up.
have
we can
external or
do-
internal fertilization.
Let's do 30.
So whenever
Yeah,
I
now
see
that
a
that's-
community this dense of one type of thing or just a
20
couple
meters,
things,
I guess.
I
Stop.
think of their reproductive strategy as mostly releasing competent larvae. And so my guess would be it's what you're talking about, Shirley, a more internal fertilization,
We're
because
ready for another
if
move.
they're just releasing eggs and sperm into the water, that's going to get washed off
Yeah.
of this ridge so quickly.
Exactly.
That's what I was
Not really
thinking
gonna
too,
build a
Chris.
community, whereas if they release those planula and it settles a meter away from the colony, then you can see it building up.
Yeah, what do you think the likelihood is of fragmentation here, where the current would rip off a piece and you could have an asexual propagation just by the fragment attaching onto another surface?
I think that's a great possibility here. Yeah, and it's a pretty strong current area, obviously, too.
Diva Aman, also a Hawaii person. Did you see a lot of these kinds of corals elsewhere? I wasn't sitting in on every dive, but
Which corals?
I'm sorry,
Sponges.
not corals, the sponges. I don't remember seeing this particular sort of sponge.
I mean, the fan one? That fan one that we're seeing all over the place, the most common one?
I was really confused for a second when you asked what kinds of corals. I was like, am I missing something? No, I don't think we did see any sponges like this. We did see a couple of the ones we saw early in the dive, Philophysids, another one. But these sort of kind of fringing sponges I don't recall seeing at all. And it's really interesting how much they dominate this community.
Boy, it sure is.
And these other sponges that we're looking at, the one that's kind of in the center of the field of view right now, looks more like that one that Chris dubbed the Casper sponge. So that's, again, very unusual morphology.
So this isn't like
Looks like a hat.
like the one that we zoomed in on near the purple purple
Yes,
corals.
yeah,
really?
yeah,
Is
I
it
think
this
so.
the
I
same
think it's
as that?
similar.
Yeah.
It might be. Which leads me to think that it might be, Chris, that like related, kind of like Pacastrellids, not necessarily geodids.
Let's see if we can settle in here. We can get a view of that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And this one we're looking at right now is, I think, different than those fringing ones that were sampled. And,
I agree.
To me, I don't really understand Coralistes very well, that group, except it looks like sort of a thickened flower petal. I'm wondering whether
Yep.
some of these could be
Barnacle.
listed. But
Good get, pilot. If we can go on and get a closer image of that, please.
That is a barnacle,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeehaw!
Yep.
The ignoramus over here got one.
Watch port rail.
I think you're more than far from being an ignoramus.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys are teaching us things every single day.
So these
That's a really big barnacle.
stalked barnacle. I'm like reaching back, like Lepus. Is that the genus name? Lepas? I have no idea. Wasn't there a barnacle person
Bruce
from Guam who was
Bruce
interested?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think there's a barnacle person from Guam. It wasn't Allison, was it? Oh, wow.
Beautiful picture.
Oh
It has
my
a face,
gosh.
2 eyes and a nose sticking out
Oh.
below a really cool hat.
A barnacle with
Oh,
a
I
that's
like
a
it.
geological description.
Wow, really
Geological.
nice. So you can see that those tentacles are called cirri, and they use those to capture their food. So this is a really thick stalk. It looks like there's a second one attached to it. Scalpellid. Bob Carney. Hi, Bob Carney. Bob Carney is calling this a scalpellid barnacle.
Looks to me like its scalp
Hi,
is.
Scott. Just as a note, you said tentacles, and I would.
Did I say
Probably better
tentacles?
referred to as legs.
Legs. Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, and they're really properly referred to as
It
cirri.
is a crustacean, so it's related to shrimp, and those would be the
Huh.
equivalent of the swimming legs of a shrimp. Those cirri.
Great.
All right, coming back for an establishment.
kind of an interesting picture there because those two animals, the little squat lobster and the barnacle, are related.
Yeah.
And they look so different.
Oh, that's a great
Yeah.
point, Chris. So
Ship
morphology
was trying to settle off from that move there.
Yeah.
doesn't mean a whole lot for
Different
Picking out-
groups, right?
picking
Different
out
groups with
things,
them.
right.
I will say, however, if you saw the larval stages of the barnacle and
think we
the
could go ahead and
crabs
get
or
the
shrimp
next
together.
Oh, there's another one over to the left too. It looks like there's another barnacle.
So what do?
Just at about 9 o'clock. Yeah,
What-
sorry, Patty.
Okay, thanks, Shirley.
Can we take a
What do
zoom
the
on
the
thing
barnacles
just to the
larvae
left of
look
seven?
like?
Is that another barnacle, or is that something?
Really.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The question
it's
was,
another
what do the
barnacle.
barnacle larvae look like? You mentioned that. I think you were going to say they look so different,
Oh.
but
Until you see them
There you go.
large.
The barnacle larvae, well, it's a little triangular sort of a body, and then it has swimming legs and antenna and mouth parts. And so if anybody who's listening knows what copepods look like, they're very common zooplankton in the ocean and in our lakes and so on. The barnacle larvae is very, very similar to the copepod larva, except the barnacle larva a little bit more triangular, a little bit of what you might call horns, but very clearly it's an arthropod. That is, it has segmented legs and antennae and mouth parts. It's when it goes through a metamorphosis, it essentially glues itself to the bottom at the head end, using its antenna actually, undergoes some molts, puts up those white sort of plate-like things you see, and then kicks its legs out of those plates in order to capture its food.
so is the little
Yeah, I have a
feature on
question.
the side, is that a keiki? In Hawaiian, that's a baby.
What is that? Because on the other one
looks
there
the
were
same.
two. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Sirius 12.3.
Looks like it's a
roughly
bud.
Yes,
3,
exactly.
4,
Those would be a couple of recruits, a couple of settling.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a male-female thing where one of them is there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Is that all?
Yeah, 80 meters, yeah.
We have
Well,
like
it could be a
50 minutes
male-female.
left.
I'm not saying that it's not, but I believe that
Take your
one
time, yeah.
is younger than the other.
Yep.
I'm not 100% certain with this particular species.
Well, at some point
Okay.
they may want to take a rock
Cool.
sample. That'll-
Okay.
Possibly Mr. and Mrs.
10 minutes
Barnacle.
for that.
I overheard somebody saying something about a rock sample. Was there anything here of interest that you wanted to sample?
Sure, I'd be happy to pick up anything we could get that's a rock, but I don't think that the pilot would be, because I think all this stuff is
attached.
stuck. There are areas, we've been going over areas where there's looser material, and I have in the back of my mind thinking, should we get one here, or should we
we're
wait?
stopped right now. I can call in
It's
another
always
20 meters.
it's always a juggling.
340.
Now, is that white
good for
coral
you
on the
guys?
bottom of the screen something different? It's got a hole in
sponge.
it.
Oh, there's still quite a bit of
Sponge,
current
coral,
going for-
hey, they're the same. No, just kidding.
To me, they are. No, I'm just kidding, too. Okay, there's a sea
some more sea
star.
stars.
It's not as
yeah.
bad
All
as
right.
at peak, but it's still much stronger than average.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you? I'm going to readjust my heading toward 340.
I will keep a lookout in the
It's supposed to be pretty
serious
flat here.
view for rubble piles that might
look
yield
around
us
here.
an interesting
why don't we-
rock.
yeah,
Although I am
Yeah,
fascinated
like
with these little ridges, and just I wonder if they are hard to, kind of whack off or something and take a
Get a better,
sample.
Idea of the local highs, D2.
Don't go there.
Yeah, scope out first. See what we got.
Okay.
What the Alvin pilots do when I ask for a sample of this sort is they go full speed ahead and crash into the thing and knock it off for me, and then turn around and pick it
This
up.
is our first dive. We don't want to ruin D2.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
I'm
not.
kidding.
I
I'm
know.
kidding. Oh, but there are rocks down to the right. Wow, that might be tough to do though, because that's facing right into the currents. The really dark guys next to the white sponge down on the lower right-hand side. Maybe one of those is loose. We'll see.
Do you want me to go in and interrogate these
Now,
rocks?
Shirley, in that
Hurry,
image, there's one of those Casper
Yeah.
sponges on the
Over on the
top,
left,
and then
yeah.
below it, there's
Or
more of the ribbon
other
sponges.
kind of the ribbon sponges that you're calling.
And
yeah.
some parts of them are, maybe it looks like maybe less than an inch tall as
yeah.
a ribbon.
Yeah.
Now,
and very thin.
do these animals spread out as they get bigger, or do they grow up, or both?
They
Ribbon looks
both.
pretty
So they're going to spread
Okay.
out laterally,
All right.
and then they'll
Then-
grow vertically as well. But they don't get really thick.
Right.
You got plenty of tether. You can come around the other side of it.
Well, I like having the wind in my face.
Okay.
That's true.
And another Paragorgiid, the red
Bubble
gum coral.
Barbie pink.
Barbie pink.
I have a daughter. Oh, and there's an interesting pale pinkish.
Oh, and
What
another.
is that? Is that a
There's
crinoid?
another barnacle over there on the left. Oh yeah, and then there's an urchin
Is that an urchin that
down at the bottom. One at the bottom.
Oh, yeah,
you
I
see the bottom down
right.
there. We're pointing to each other like all of you out there can see us what we're doing. And then over on the far, like at the 9 o'clock position, is another barnacle.
Oh, you're right. That is a barnacle. Now I can tell. For Shirley and me as science leads, we're sitting at a console that has a whole bunch of computer screens in front of us, but
That we're not currently paying attention to because we're looking at the big screen that the pilot has.
We're paying attention to
when we
everything.
need to.
Everything,
Right, because
yes.
we're at 489 feet, meters right now.
right.
Science interested in a sample of one of these rocks? Question
But
mark?
it does take Shirley and me maybe a little bit longer to see things on the screen because the big screens are right in front of the pilot, as you can imagine. That's the best place for him to see what is out there and what is doing.
Pilot,
So-
did you ask a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted me to try to sample one of these rocks.
Yes, please. The question was, do we want to sample one
Yes,
of these
please.
rocks?
Okay.
And the answer is
Thanks.
yes, please.
Do look awful big.
The one that is on the bottom of the center of the screen
Mind if I
is
tilt
beautiful, but I don't know
Oh
if
my
it's
God,
too
that's
big.
enormous. It's like a
I don't
ginormous
know.
one.
Maybe not.
Does it look smaller than it actually is?
Does that look too big?
Looks pretty big.
I don't know. We'll
How
see
about
what the
one,
manipulator
just
looks
to the
like.
Right of
The skid there.
to the right, well, to the right of the sponge. Kind of an oblong shaped one.
So we have about another 45 minutes of this dive.
Plenty of
We're
time
getting
to
some
get
very
around.
cool. Yeah, plenty of time. We need a rock.
We're set up here. We got the time.
Yep.
Let's
Okay, pilot's loosening up. I can tell he's getting ready to go in for the kill.
Wiggling his shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, get those arms ready.
Are we full wide on Mini Zeus?
Yes, Bailey, you are.
So folks at home, you should, I think,
Just
be
know
able
I've got
to
it
see.
on.
Yeah,
You ready?
it would be on
Okay.
the screen that the Sirius
Is usually
is the
on.
one that you would usually see. And
Hydraulics
our pilot is going to attempt to pick up one
Yeah,
of
that's
these
better
here
video.
rocks.
Thanks.
So for folks who are perhaps joining us late in this dive, the pilot is using the starboard or right hand manipulator to try to pick up a rock sample from this locality. And what he usually does is he will touch something, and if it wiggles, that means it's loose, and that one wiggled, and there go the arms. Those arms can open up to, golly, almost a foot, which means that's going to be a heavy rock, but that'll be great, because there'll be large volume for, us rock jobs. See, the problem is, when you get a big rock that's kind of round, it's very slippery. So the pilot orients the manipulator so he can kind of latch on to an edge of a rock sample, so he can kind of get those fingers under some, extruding, I think extruding isn't the right word, some extending part of the rock surface. And if you can do that, then it's easier to pick it up.
Just careful that you don't get
And what the
coral
pilot will
cutters in
do,
the
if
rock.
he's able to pick up this rock, or whichever one he gets, he'll lift it up in front of the camera so that the videographer can get a good picture for categorizing the type of rock. And this one looks really interesting now we've got it up outside. This has the characteristic shape of a pillow basalt
drifting away.
fragment.
Yep.
This one may be too big. Lava, when it erupts as underwater, basically freezes on the outside into a glassy rim. And as the lava oozes out onto the seafloor, kind of like you squeeze a toothpaste tube, and the toothpaste on the outside of what squeezed out suddenly turned rock hard. Well, that's kind of the way lavas work on the seafloor when they erupt. The temperature of the water down here is about 3 degrees Celsius, just a tiny bit over freezing. So
Give you a view with the Mini Zeus.
lava that is erupted
Sirius.
into the ocean, because the ocean is such a huge body of water, and water has a high heat capacity. In other words, it can absorb heat. Heat goes from a hotter thing to a colder thing very easily. So later on in the cruise, as we approach hydrothermal vents, what you're going to see is shrimps and snails and all kinds of animals that are living like within an inch of an active hydrothermal vent that is pumping out waters that are 300, 400 degrees Celsius. And yet the shrimp can get up to within an inch, sometimes a half an inch. If they get too close, they skitter away really fast, or if the currents change the direction of the effluent, the smoke, the water that's coming out of the vent, then the animals might feel it, and then they'll move away. So we're going for another rock on the side. This one also looks like it might be a fragment of a pillow. They have a shape either kind of like a cone or a piece of pie, or a block like this one is. And this one
pick it up,
is a beautiful sample,
bring in
which the
your,
pilot just picked up
starboard wing.
dexterously.
If Easier to stow if you want.
Yeah.
And
All
we're
right.
just going to look at it a little bit, rotate it around. It has a little white
Yeah, Tara, you can zoom in on that.
little white something up there on the surface. It looks like it might be or had been biological. There are also a couple of
something's on
little
this.
critters.
Yeah,
You can see right in the under the V of
Boy,
the
we got
fingers.
Commensals.
There are animals on this, which Shirley's
Epibions.
Shirley's
So I'm
poking
already
me with
looking
her
at. I'm
elbow.
already looking at these.
Looking at them and going, "Oh, goody!"
Here you go. Zoom in on.
Oh, very
Are
cool.
those baby corals
Yeah, yeah. Look like they might be.
in Hawaii?
Yeah.
The word for baby is keiki.
Oh,
So you
like
might
the
hear me.
orchids.
Might be orchids.
Oh, no, like the orchids. You have the little offshoots.
You can't use Hawaiian names when you're over there. You got to come up with a Chamorro name for
keiki.
child.
I will look that up, Chris, and use it.
All right.
Or if any of the folks in Guam can let me know what that is. So we already have one rock sample, and that rock sample went into a basket on the left side of the submersible's sample drawer. So this one's going to go in the right side. The left side has a lid. The right side does not. So we don't say we have collected a sample until that sample is in that basket. That is a big basket.
I'm ready to hit that collect button, though, I'll tell you.
And that rock is a big rock. There it goes. Maybe.
Ah, he's
It's
got
really
he's got
hard
Okay, I
for...
may be wrong about this, but I Googled it, and for child, it's Patgon, Patgon, but I don't know if that's right.
Patgon.
Thank you very much, Chris. The sample is in the box.
Okay, I can hit the collect button.
Bring the starboard wing outboard.
Geo-2. Collect. Yay. Good. Nice. Very nice. Nice job, pilot.
And then, thank you. If you could give me the
Thank you,
arm on
pilot.
the Mini Zeus a little more so I can show it properly.
Oh, there he goes. He's stretching his arm out. Ah, did it.
Maybe rotate your wrist 180.
Oh, I have them upside down there.
So once the sample's been placed in the basket, the pilot will orient the manipulator arms to close so he can stow the manipulator, and then they will retract the sample basket, so we won't be seeing it, as we're driving along. But keep in mind,
Scary hydraulics.
it's a real challenge for our pilots to be able to operate using a one-dimensional screen. You don't have that parallax view that you get with your eyes when you're reaching for something. So they have a whole bunch of cameras on the vehicle that they can put in a variety of different directions.
Thanks again, Dan.
Yep, and I've drifted over a bit. Not too much, but...
Okay,
So
where do we need to go?
we will be moving upslope
Hypex,
as soon as the pilots are ready.
new pilot.
Yep.
334, but if we just go to local high.
Okay,
Then,
which has been right around
Yeah, it's been the same.
north.
A little bit more northerly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Carl. We are just getting ready for me to lift off here and head basically the direction you're pointed.
Excellent.
Although it looks like you're off to the left a little bit.
Looks like I'm pointed roughly uphill in sonar.
Got 35 minutes left in the dive, and you're at 80 meters from waypoint 3, which we just want
to maneuver the ROV.
Let's get Sirius underway.
Yeah.
What we need to do is the co-pilot actually is in charge of
20
moving
meters sound good?
Sirius, which is the vehicle that is suspended above
Co-pilot, you think
the remotely operated vehicle. Right now, the Sirius is off a little bit to the southwest, and it's coming around a little bit further north so that we can get both vehicles aligned, and that will make it easier to make progress up the ridge.
We'll go due north, 0.2.
So, Patty, so far, what has been your most amazing animal?
My most amazing animal, I have to say it was the sponges, Shirley.
See, now I would have to say that for me it was the barnacle. That barnacle was way cool.
I have to say that actually I lied because, you know, I'm standing next to you and I get hit if I don't say that it's...
I won't hit you on your birthday.
Oh, okay, just tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. I'll save it up. I'm going to save up all the hits.
But I really like that little red fish that nobody knew exactly what it was.
Oh, was that a cardinal fish? No, what was
that? Sea robin.
The sea robin. Oh, yeah, that one.
That was pretty.
I thought there was that other one that we saw earlier that I think it was Asako said that people ate in Japan and Russia.
Really?
I thought it was the other one, not the sea robin. Okay, here we go.
We're moving at a good clip.
We're moving. So you can see if you're looking down at the from the Sirius down to D2, you can see it starting to move.
And our direction is very close to due north, just about 7 degrees to the east of due north, which is direction upslope. Right along the crest of this ridge. So Shirley, all the white speckles that we see on the surface of the seafloor those are all animals, right?
Yes.
Are they?
Yeah, co-pilot. We got the ship moving.
On leg 2, excuse me, leg 1.
Just started moving. So
what? When we were looking at that kind of thing, we saw a lot of hermit crabs.
There might be bryozoans encrusting on the surface of the rock.
So if all of the white stuff is living stuff, then you could estimate kind of, you know, what the percentage of the seafloor is covered with animals. And in this picture, I would say it's 40 to 50%.
I would say so.
Which is amazing. You know, we think about it. You think about deep sea as a, you know, giant desert. Not true. Brian Glazer, my biological oceanography friend at University of Hawaii, would say, and you might agree, I hope, that the greatest biological mass on our planet is in the oceans. Is that true, or is it trees?
Well, no, I don't know. Because when you stop and think about all of the plankton in the water column and how
it's not only that, but the microbes.
Oh yeah, the microbes for sure
on the surface of the seafloor.
And it hasn't even been that long ago that microbes were discovered to be
right?
in
the sediment and in the rocks.
In the rocks.
Deep, hot biosphere.
Yeah.
And yet, you know,
so then would they be in mud volcanoes? Oh,
absolutely.
We'll have to talk about that later.
We will talk about that when we get there.
Yeah,
save the goodies.
That, right.
Save
put that
the goodies for later.
As our strategic planners would say, put that on a Post-it note in the parking lot, and we'll talk about it later.
But you try to think about it, and the Earth's surface is 70% of it is covered with the ocean. And we have explored and know about a tiny percentage of that. We know more about the surface of the moon, the surface of Mars, and even the surface of Venus than we do about the seafloor on our own planet. And this world that we're looking at is essentially, you know, inner space.
And these animals have been, you know, have gotten adapted over hundreds of millions of years, and they're living in, you know, very extreme conditions. This isn't that deep, relatively speaking.
Right.
But still, it's cold water.
Yep. 3 degrees.
No
or
light.
So.
Very little light. Very little light.
Well, that's one thing that one of my biology friends told me also is that, and people again don't think about this, that most of the life on our planet is adapted for near freezing temperatures.
And total darkness.
And total darkness. Oops. You know what?
This form of life is definitely not adapted to
This form?
cold or darkness. I like being in the tropics.
This form, by this form, Shirley is not referring to something that you're seeing on the video.
Yes, I'm talking about me.
She is referring to herself.
That's why I live in the tropics.
Okay.
Okay, what are we doing here? Fish
take a look at
eyes,
this.
green eyes.
Okay, we're about a little less than a meter off the seafloor. So, folks on shore, if there's anything that you see here that you would like us to take a close look at, please chime in.
Okay.
We have about 25 minutes left in this dive.
So we do not
Yep.
have...
Nav, can you let us know how far away we are from the final waypoint, please?
Yes, D2 is currently about 54 meters from the waypoint, but I think it's pretty much at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we need to be off the bottom in like 25 minutes.
Roger that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oops.
Bridge, ROV nav.
And we only have one biological sample.
I know. I'm thinking.
Really?
I'm
Really?
thinking.
We are ready for another ship move, 20 meters, bearing due north, 0.2 knots.
20 meters, due north, 0.2.
Good copy.
So I know Bruce would like that other biological sample to be a green eye, but
It's kind of hard.
we don't
you
have a
know.
slurp gun, so I don't think that's going to happen.
They move really fast.
Right.
It's just wishful thinking on my part.
I
It's not
know.
possible, but someday you'll get, someday you'll get there.
Yep, I know. It'd be very cool to look at their reproductive biology.
Yeah, but a lot of the areas now that you're looking at this year and next year haven't been sampled for the fish fauna much at all. So, collections will be really good. There are lots of probably puzzles lots of puzzles that probably should be solved for collecting specimens.
Okay.
We just got a bug on our screen.
So, Bruce, have these fish already been studied, like the green eye, so that you know that they are synchronous hermaphrodites? How do you know that? Some that are related to it in a different part of the ocean.
Exactly. It's areas like the Mediterranean where there's lots of trawling that specimens have come up, and people have looked at them and used histology to study the gonad morphology and all. There have been a lot of research over in Japan where there are trawl fisheries and other types of fisheries, but here in the Marianas, no, the fish sampling hasn't been done. So the inferences about the biology are from work that have been done in other parts of the world, mostly along continental slopes and continental margins.
It kind of makes sense as a strategy for reproduction, though, to have them be a hermaphroditic in a synchronous way, because it gives them more options for reproduction.
Yeah, and it is an unusual strategy, but there seems to be, I'm not an expert on this, I'll have to look at some of the information, but my memory serves correctly. There's this one particular order, Alopiformes, that includes the green eyes, also includes the shallow water lizardfish, which I don't believe are hermaphroditic, but it includes some other things like the pelagic lancet fishes that are caught sometimes in longline fisheries.
Sponge.
And the deep water members of that group seem to have this synchronous hermaphroditism. I believe the lancetfish have that too, as well as the green eyes. And the tripod fish may be, they're in the same order, so they may have the same strategy.
That they're synchronous hermaphrodites? Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's correct. Now, other common deep-sea fish like the rat tails and the cusk eels that we see a lot of, I don't believe they have that that reproductive strategy of synchronous hermaphroditism.
I wonder if we could take a look at that material we're passing on the right-hand side and just get a zoom on it for the texture.
You mean the rocks?
Yeah, the rocks. I'm wondering if that's coral or limestone that has dissolved a little bit here.
Okay. Oh, really?
So, Watchley, what was it we wanted to see here on the right?
Just below the sponge, see the
rock surface.
The rock surface, yeah.
Okay.
So as we're narrating this, for those of you who are joining us from the general public, not part of the chat log, we've got a group of scientists who are participating from different locations, different exploration command centers, from their offices or homes, and they're providing information to us in the chat log. Every time we're running across a coral or a squat lobster or an urchin, that they're adding all of this information into our chat log so that we can search on that later on.
Look how wonderful this video is, and you can see lots of brittle stars.
Lots of brittle stars.
And Chris, do you think that this is a piece of coral and limestone? What I'm seeing does not look like igneous rock. This looks like limestone to me. We're hearing bells,
for the
end.
Another fire drill.
This is the end of the fire drill.
No, it's another one. I think they're doing another. They're doing another one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was hoping maybe Chris could chime in and tell us whether we're looking at.
Oh, this is an abandoned ship drill.
This is abandoned ship.
We're staying.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button. My guess is that it is limestone, Patty. I would agree with you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. Yep. Well, that gives us a better sense for what these mounds are that we've been looking at that are full of holes like this.
Another urchin over there. Chris, we have about 20 minutes left in the dive. Do you have a sampling priority? Or can I go in for yep, go ahead. Another, the urchin up there. Yeah.
Yep, there's an urchin on top of the Casper thingy.
I'm listening, Chris.
So Shirley, because we're not seeing that many animals right now, and you already got a sample of the ribbon sponge, the other one that's been fairly common would be that other Casper-like sponge, which I think you would agree is probably a different demo sponge.
Yeah. Okay.
I certainly wouldn't have any objections to getting two demo sponges on this dive, because they're both interesting and I think they're different.
Okay, sounds good.
I tell you what, Chris, what I'm looking at in the video screen right now, just over the edge of this little rock that we're sitting on, and in the Sirius view, the surface to the right of the vehicle looks as if it has a whole lot of animals on it, and I wondered if
just giving you a heads up.
maneuvering the vehicle, which it looks like it's doing right now, just to point toward that face, toward the east. Yeah. So maybe we can go in and get one of these roundy sponges.
The Casper
That's what
sponge,
you want,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so it's a more massive sponge pilot than the ribbon one that we saw before.
There's a major species here.
Yeah, maybe. Do you anticipate that it is going to be something that is going to sort of get totally crushed and difficult to pick up, or do you think that
it's not going to be? It won't be brittle. I think it'll. I mean,
so
I
it might
think
be possible to break a piece off.
You could probably break a piece off. And again, we only need a small piece to be able to identify it.
Okay.
Because we have such great video of the animal itself. So, pilot, it's one of those more massive sponges that we were calling like the Casper sponge. I think. You're heading. Yeah, he knows he's heading straight towards it.
I have my victim in sight.
And on the way, we get to see
Some
I think
sea stars.
Is that a star and not a brittle star?
It's a star. It's a star. Sea star. Yeah.
Dan, do you think you'd be able to open the drawer here?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to get it. I think we'll be able to get the drawer open, yeah.
All right.
If not, I mean, you can, once you have it in your grip, we can lift off bottom and I can get it open, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we seem to be okay.
Okay. Ready for hydraulics?
Happy with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm ready for hydraulics.
No, it's alive.
All right, we've got hydraulics.
Copy hydraulics. Hydraulics on. Grade
And
4.
Science, this is Copilot.
Hold on a sec. Copilot. Yes.
Just the one biology sample today, right? The sponge that we got earlier.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So you're going to want to put it in the starboard bio.
I could put it. It's drifting. Starting to drift.
I think the other one was in the port outer box.
Switch your mini Zeus. Follow you over.
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
Okay. That's grip.
Yeah, it's big. If you can, I don't know if you can chunk off a piece of it. That would be all right too. You don't have to get the whole thing. Yeah, good. No. Mm-mm. Sure. Ugh. Okay, there's a fragment over to the... So it looks like there may be a smaller piece over to the left. What if you take that smaller piece over to the left? Do you think you can do that? This sponge will actually... No? It'll actually reattach. Okay.
It's quite large.
Okay.
Is that?
I'm not even sure if that would fit in the box.
It's huge. This is huge.
Too big.
Yeah.
Might be able to break it off in the box. I don't know.
Well, you don't.
Because I was going to say, once I let go of it.
Don't want to risk that.
Yeah.
You don't want to press the arm against the side of the box at all by accident.
Okay.
He doesn't. That's already on the box. You know what? We don't need that extra piece. You don't need that extra piece. We're going to have plenty. Oh, because there's a... Okay. Well, it's already on top of the box, right? Oh, it's in front of the box. Okay, yeah.
Wow. Well, this other bit is so brittle.
I'm going to tilt down on Mini Zeus.
Yeah.
I think we're going to test that fragmentation hypothesis.
Well, you know what? That sponge will actually reattach. It will reattach itself.